Philippines. My name is Sushmita.
I'm Sam.
Broadcasting live from Global TV Bollywood Studio, India.
Live from Global TV London studio. You are watching Global TV Philippines.
I'm so excited to join you. Catch me soon on the Rapporteur News with
Isabel
Fernandez and Chino Hansel
Filian.
Together, let's unite the universe with substance by bringing news you can trust. Until then.
See you.
Jeremiah chapter 29 verse 13. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart.
Isaiah 40 verse 31. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint.
John 14 verse 6. Jesus answered, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.
Proverbs chapter 3 verse 5 to 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him and He will make your path straight.
1 Thessalonians 5:19. Quench not the Spirit. Huwag ninyong hadlangan ang Espiritu Santo.
Hebrews chapter 2 verse 18. Because he himself suffered when he was tempted, he is able to help those who are being tempted.
John 1 verse 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God.
Matthew 21 verse 22. If you believe, you will receive whatever you ask for in prayer.
Beauty that made me
Here I am to say that you're my God. You're altogether lovely, altogether worthy, altogether wonderful to me. King of all days, oh so highly exalted, glorious in heaven above. Humbly you came to the earth you created, all for the sake became poor. Here I am to worship, here I am to bow down, here I am to say that you're my God. You're altogether lovely, altogether worthy, altogether wonderful to me. I'll never know how much it costs to see my sin upon the cross. I'll never know how much it costs to see my sin upon the cross. Here I am to worship, here I am to bow down, here I am to say that you're my God. You're altogether lovely, altogether worthy, altogether wonderful to me.
Heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me.
Sige na, humayo ka, oras na paibigin siya. Bigyang pansin ang mundo natin, kalikasan ay malin. Pakinggan, huni ng ibon, may ngiti sa dapit hapon. Sa tulong ng Panginoon, halina't tayo'y tumuto. Naalala mo ba nung kay bata pa? Berdeng lupa na kay ganda, ngiti ng mga bulaklak, mga pusong puno ng galak. Lumipas ang mga araw, pananaw tila'y nagtugunaw, kasakto may niyakap, kahit mga puno'y umiiyak. Buksan mo ang iyong mata at tingnan mo ang panaghulila. Kagubat ay lumuluha, wag mo sana itatuwa. Sige na, humayo ka, oras na paibigin siya. Bigyang pansin ang mundo natin, kalikasan ay malin. Pakinggan, huni ng ibon, may ngiti sa dapit hapon. Sa tulong ng Panginoon, halina't tayo'y tumuto. Basura'y wag ikalat sa daan, ilog o dagat, usok sa kalangitan, sana'y ating bawasan. Buksan mo ang iyong mata at tingin mo ang panaghulila. Kagubat ay lumuluha pag mo sanang hitatuwa. Sige na, humayo ka, oras na para ibigin siya. Bigyang pansin ang mundo natin, kalikasan ay maling. Sa maliit na paraan, pagbabago'y makakamtan. Ang kabutihan ng tularan, yakapin inang kalikasan. Sige na, humayo ka, oras na para ibigin siya. Bigyang pansin ang mundo natin, kalikasan ay maling. Sige na, humayo ka, oras na para ibigin siya. Sa tulong ng Panginoon, halina tayo. Tumagal. Sige na, humayo ka, oras na para ibigin siya. Sa tulong ng Panginoon, halina tayo. Tumagal.
So the goal of my Monday Mover strategy is
Yan mga kaibigan, magandang hapon sa inyong lahat and welcome sa Ako at ang Kalikasan TV or AKTV presents. Ayun, welcome po sa ating mga nanonood. Yan. Gandang hapon, Jennifer Ong. Good afternoon sa iyo. Mark Lester Marave. Good afternoon. Yan, kamusta mga kaibigan? And welcome sa isa na namang hapon para sa ating AKTV Presents. Ayan. Ang pag-uusapan natin ngayong hapon po ay napakaganda. Siyempre, napaka-timely rin ito because it deals with our mental health. It deals with how to cope, I think, with COVID-19. And siyempre, yung guest natin ngayong araw, I think, para sa akin medyo, na gustong-gusto ko yung kanyang background kasi gusto kong malaman paano siya naging connected sa Space Apps. At the same time, ito pala, e-sports din na player, gamer. Alamin din natin yung kanyang background na yan. Sana pagbigyan tayo at sana sagutin yung ating mga questions. Ayun. So mga kaibigan, bukod po doon, sana po mag-ingat po tayong lahat kasi meron naman pong malakas na bagyo paparating. Ayan po yung Ulysses PH. Ayan. Pangatlong bagyo sa loob lamang ng wala pang 2 weeks. So nakakagulat, no? So ito po yung realidad ngayon. This is really the reality of our current climate crisis. Talaga namang yung bagyo napakadalas kasi habang umiinit po ang ating karagatan, napakabilis din pong ma-form ng mga bagyo. Ayun. So pag-uusapan natin, ito po yung pangatlong guest natin para sa mga nagwagi o sumali sa NASA Space Apps Challenge. Ito po yung napakagaling ng mga Pilipino na talaga namang pambato natin sa mga ganitong kompetisyon. Ngayon, mapakilala ko po, I will introduce to you our very special guest for today, who is currently a PhD student in computer science at the La Salle University. He is also an assistant professorial lecturer who is both a Microsoft certified educator and a Google certified educator. Wow, lupit, no? His research interest involves using AI in game development. Kaya music information retrieval and using AI to help in the in the healthcare industry and promote mental wellness. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us introduce for our AKTV Presents episode. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, ano bang tawag dito? PhD, doktor, magiging doktor na to. Sir Arturo Carunungan III. Hi, sir.
Hi, David. Maraming salamat for the introduction. Medyo malayo pa ako maging doctor, so you can forgo about that title ko muna.
So, dapat,
Yun.
dapat daw i-claim na kagad yun, sir. Para alam mo naman yung pag-claim daw yun, nagiging sayo.
No, pero I don't
I-claim na natin
mind.
sa universe.
Ganon. Just call me Art po. Yun na lang.
Okay, yes,
So
Art.
thank you
Yun.
so much. Thank you so much for having me, Ren, as well. It's such an honor to be here para rin may present yung solution na feel ko makakatulong sa kapwang Pilipino. Lalo na during these pandemic, during these difficult times, there are so many uncertainties and medyo overlooked talaga yung aspect of mental health, and that is why we actually wanted to focus on it, okay, during that time. But I will be discussing it later.
Yeah. Pero bago
Yun.
tayo pumunta dyan sa AI na ginawa nyo, gusto mo na kitang busisiin ng konti. Kasi intriguing to eh. Kasi di ba, many people, like mga parents sinasabi, pag mahilig ka sa gaming, mahilig ka sa maglaro ng games, na yung pag-aaral mo, naapektuhan talaga, no? So, para sa'yo, I think you're one of the best examples, one of the examples, yung nasabing nakakatulong dito sa pag-aaral. So, bago natin alamin kung ano si Art dito sa Space Up Challenge, ano ba yung connection ng pagiging mong esports fanatic o gamer? Saan ka ba na-involve sa esports? Yan.
Okay, in terms of esports, recently kasi there was this concluded competition. It's actually annually held, okay, by Konami, called the Konami Arcade
Wow.
Championships. The game that I represented was U-Beat. Okay, U-Beat is a rhythm game which consists of 16 panels. Medyo this is scattered around the malls na ano sa mga ibang arcades. Meron rin mga Dance Revolution, mga ganon. Pero ako, I was the Philippine representative for
Wow.
U-Beat. Okay, so
Ano ba
in
yun? May
order for me,
kasamang kamay, ganun?
opo. So, basically, may mga buttons nagla-light up. Para siyang whack-a-mole. Tapos,
Ah,
iilaw yung button. Tapos, kailangan mo pindutin tuwing umiilaw. Pero as it lights up to the rhythm of an ongoing song that plays in the background. So, you have to tap those buttons in rhythm. Oo. So, basically, ganon yung U-beat. So what happened basically, ako yung naging Philippine representative kasi there was last year, tinatawag natin Bimani Esports Championship for Southeast Asia. So representatives from Southeast Asia competed and I ended up winning that one. Okay. And I ended up being the Filipino representative for UBeat in the Konami Arcade Championship. So yeah, I was actually the first Philippine player to represent the Philippines in the Konami Arcade Championship. So basically that was my esports background. Kaso hindi matutuloy yung BEC this year because of the
sayang
pandemic.
naman.
Sayang din. And kasi arcade centers are closed dahil ano, 'di ba? GCQ and all that. So walang practice rin, pero hopefully my skills are still good enough to hopefully compete by the time the BEC and the
Yung
KC.
bang, yung bang pagkahilig mo sa UBIT, nauna kaysa doon sa pagkahilig mo doon sa, di may nakalagay doon, you're also into music information retrieval. Tama ba?
Opo. Okay. Actually, ang ginawa ko, I consider U-Beat as my hobby kasi basically hindi lang U-Beat, it's games actually. Lately, I've been collecting yung mga platinum trophies rin of other games. So, yung mga Crash Bandicoot, yung Outlast, Dark Souls, mga ganon. So, it's basically really just games. Okay. I make it a point to separate as much as possible yung research and hobby. Okay, because I believe if it's all work, I feel that there is also space for leisure, which actually is a connection here sa ongoing pandemic. Okay, medyo nabublur na rin yung barriers between work at saka leisure and relaxation. So pagdating sa games, instead of being something that will hamper, it is actually something na makakatulong sa mental state mo. Now, if you are um, if you're thinking na, kunwari, baka panay games lang, hindi mo na nagagawa yung mga kailangan mong gawin, para sa akin, there is some self-control na kailangan. Pero sa isip ko, through gaming, na-improve yung focus, na-improve yung determination, lalo na if there are achievements that require what we call is grinding. So, kailangan mo magtrabaho ng 20 hours para lang makuha yon. So, yung attitude na yon, yung patience, yung focus, nakikarry over sa trabaho mo. Eh, in this case naman, let's say, research, it needs a lot of patience. It takes time. So, yung focus na na-exhibit ko when, let's say, I practice a song, and normally, it can take hours to become really good at something, yung focus, nagki-carry over rin sa trabaho, sa studies, and eventually, you become a better individual that way. So, not just through gaming. So, if you don't consider games as something that will distract you, but as something na makakatulong sa mental well-being mo and sa mental capacity mo, maganda actually siya. Okay? Kasi, kunyari, pag sa studies mo, syempre, kailangan mong mag-aral, kailangan mo gawin yung mga requirements mo. Pero, para let's say, some requirements may need a lot of focus. Feel ko na-improve siya through gaming under the proper circumstances.
Wow. Napaka-interesting. So, yung mga nanonood dyan ng mga magulang, may benefit ang gaming. Pero siyempre, sabi mo nga, kailangan din ng control. And before we go again to the NASA Space Apps, let me first show this video to you. Ano ba tong NASA International Space Apps Challenge? So, pakita natin tong short video about it.
Hey, I'm Thomas Surpuk, an Associate Administrator for Science here at NASA, and I'm so happy to welcome you to Space Apps. Space Apps is a community of scientists, engineers, artists, and hackers coming together to address key issues here on Earth. At the heart of Space Apps are data that come to us from spacecraft that are flying around Earth and are looking at our world, and we ask you to take those data to learn new things that help us. To learn more, go to spaceappschallenge.org or join the conversation at #SpaceApps.
Yun pala yung Space Apps. So, paano ka ba, o kayo, alam ko group kayo, no? Paano nagsimula itong pagka-involve mo sa Space Apps, sa NASA Space Apps Challenge na ito?
Well, obviously, when we saw it actually, kasi grupo kami, and we're actually not really any formal organization, basically group of friends lang, okay, with different backgrounds. Pero in the midst of this pandemic, we were trying to see if there is something that that could keep ourselves preoccupied. Let's just say parang tamang timing na lang na lumabas bigla yung NASA, yung COVID-19 Space Apps Challenge. Kasi yung COVID-19 Space Apps Challenge, that is basically a special challenge na naglabas yung NASA dahil sa pandemic. Now, during this pandemic, so sinabi namin to keep ourselves sane and para mas productive, okay, para ma-distract yung thoughts natin from the COVID, tingnan nga natin ito. Pero it turns out, may solution or my problem set doon na nakita namin na tinamaan talaga kami, na feel namin tugma. So, we were all able to relate with it, and we decided na subukan nga natin ito. So, we went there without any expectations. Instead, we went there with the thought that we wanted a solution that could help out other individuals during this pandemic. So, basically, yon yung nagiging mindset namin entering the hackathon that occurred. Just so happens na may isang challenge doon na nakarelate talaga kami, kaya talagang tinira namin yon.
Paano ba nangyayari? Bawa, kami, interesado yung group namin sumali. Paano ba yung proseso ng pagpunta doon? Paano ka nag-a-apply? Then paano ba nangyayari yung actual na hackathon para ma-visualize ng mga nanonood sa atin?
Okay. Usually, nag-a-announce yung NASA, okay, usually through their website. Okay. But there is usually mga PR materials muna that are released to the public. Now, actually, it's open to anyone. Okay, so kahit sino pwede sumali. Ang
So, hindi
kailangan lang
kailangan
mag-register.
scientist ka, ganun. Hindi kailangan scientist ka.
Hindi kailangan actually. Kahit
Mm,
estudyante ka pwede. Okay. Ang
oh.
importante lang ay mag-register ka. Tapos if you have a group, um sorry, mag-register rin kayo as a group. Pero kung gusto mo rin mag-work individually, pwede rin although mahirap. So basically, it's just register. Okay, no need to pay for any registration fees whatsoever. Now, the challenge is on the hackathon itself, you'll just be given 48 hours. Bale, 2 araw lang ibibigay sa'yo. So, ang ibibigay ng NASA sa inyo ay yung mga data nila, yung mga research, at saka basically from there, ano ang pwede mong gawin sa data na i-release nila? Ano ang pwede mong gawin sa research na ni-release nila? So, given a span of 2 days, you have to come up with a solution that will actually solve the problems that they lay out. So, yung mga problems, iba-iba siya. Okay, so may mga problems like um, bringing awareness, tapos may mga ibang problems rin about um, mga delivering technologies, parang mga ganon. So basically, the point is, maraming problems possible. So mga 12 problem sets yun. Tapos you have around 48 hours to produce something based on the information and the data that they release to you. So ganun siya.
Kasi last time, I think na-interview namin yung sa Gideon, which is also about COVID-19. No?
Gideon.
Tapos another one was sa Project ADIS, yung para naman sa dengue. No?
Sa
So I'm really
dengue.
interested, paano ba nag-work to? Kasi nakita ko na yung app nyo, no? Browse ko yung site, then intriguing ito kasi alam mo I'll be honest with you, even myself, talaga ito nangyaring lockdown and everything, parang trying to disconnect with people, and talagang ang laki ng ano eh, whether aminin naman o hindi, there is an effect to your mental health. So I think you prepared a presentation for our viewers, so siguro para mas matutunan pa namin ano ba tong tama ang pangalan ko, Snail Space.
Yes,
Ang
Snail
title
Space.
niya. Yan. Para malaman namin ano ba tong space app na ginawa ninyo. Sige.
Okay.
Share natin yung presentation mo.
Sige, let's get to it. Okay, you want to um, state a disclaimer first of all. Hindi po ako psychiatrist, okay? So, yung mga sinasabi ko is basically based on information that is gathered from research about mental health and from my own experience. Okay, that's number one. And number two, the app I'm going to be presenting to you, Snail Space, is not something that will be able to diagnose an individual's mental health. So, hindi ko alam kung may GAD kayo, General Anxiety Disorder. So, hindi rin masasabi ng app kung may Asperger yung isang individual. Okay, pero ang app na ito ay isang solution sa isang problem na nararanasan ng maraming tao, hindi lang dito sa Pilipinas, kundi sa buong mundo during the COVID-19 pandemic, which is social isolation. Sige. So, ang ipirepresent ko ay Snail Space. So, may catchphrase ito. So, Snail Space is a safe space at a snail space. Okay, so sino nagsabi nun? Si Sherlock Holmes. So, who is Sherlock Holmes? Sino si Sherlock Holmes? I will introduce him to you later. So, makikilala nyo rin, aside from Snail Space, kung sino si Sherlock Holmes. Okay, so, before that one, syempre, alam na natin kung ano ang COVID-19 pandemic, ano na ang nangyayari sa buong mundo. Basically, the COVID-19 pandemic is something that's been going on for several months. So, ang tagal na. Since March pa siya. March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. Mga higit na 9 na buwan na. So, unfortunately, hindi pa natin alam kailan siya matatapos. There's no clear indication on the direction where the pandemic is headed to. So likewise, specific source of the COVID-19 virus, we still don't know. Did it really come from bats? Did it come from pangolins? So saan siya nanggaling? Okay, now, marami pa rin ang tungkol sa COVID-19 ang hindi natin alam. Okay, pero as research goes on, there are more things that we are starting to find out about it. Okay, and that's why na tutulungan na rin natin yung mga individuals na nagkakasakit with COVID-19. Okay, now, so, para matigil yung spread ng COVID-19 or kahit anong pandemics, ang mga ginagawa ng mga local government units or government units is to, number one, we have yung mga lockdowns or social distancing. Okay, so curtailing interactions between infected individuals and non-infected individuals. Likewise, we need to reduce the infectiousness of symptomatic patients. So doon pupasok yung mga isolation and yung mga antiviral medications. And likewise, reducing the susceptibility of uninfected individuals. So these are the steps that have to be undertaken during a pandemic. Now, fortunately, recently, there are vaccine researches that are showing a lot of promise according to results. Okay, but again, bago mailabas yung vaccine sa general public, medyo may tedious process pa. So there is still a few things that we have to do until then. So bago at least mag-roll out yung mga vaccine at bago mag-normalize, may mga needs to adjust to a new normal. So we need new habits. Kailangan rin mag-adjust sa mga bagong routine. So lumalabas yung mga social distancing. Yung pag-get together natin, mag-mass gathering, wala muna. Okay, so yung mga paglabas natin, kasamang mga kaibigan para mag-samgyup, mag-party, mag-inuman, wala muna yon. Likewise, yung mga family celebrations, yung mga mag-KTV, wala muna yon, unfortunately. Now, aside from that one, because of the new normal, there's a fiscal shock and damage to the economic growth. So, may unemployment rates that increase kasi yung mga pinagbabawalan na ngayon, which is yung mga mass gathering, yung mga partying, may mga businesses na na-affected. So, there is an unemployment rate that is increasing due to closures. So, alam natin na marami talagang effects ng COVID-19 pandemic. And there is something that I'm sure lahat tayo nararanasan na. Other challenges, which is working from home, okay, and yung prolonged distance learning. Now, yung prolonged distance learning, there's actually nothing wrong with distance learning per se. However, medyo abrupt yung pag-shift natin from face-to-face learning into distance learning. And likewise, yung working from home rin. Okay, now, yung hindi natin napapansin or sometimes what we don't want to acknowledge is the other challenges, yung hindi natin nakikita. Okay, yung nararamdaman natin pero hindi natin nakikita. So, nasa research na, naipakita na working from home can cause loneliness, isolation, depressive symptoms, at yung online learning, minsan yung mga bata, at saka hindi lang yung mga bata, mga graduate students rin, isolation can be a pitfall of online learning. Okay, now, bakit naman? Because the concept of isolation can lead to what we call is the loss of boundaries in distinguishing a workplace from a place to relax and unwind after a long day. So, nawawala na yung boundary. Hindi mo na alam kung nasa bahay ka or nasa office ka, nagtratrabaho. Okay, so hindi mo na alam kung kailangan mo mag-relax or kung kailangan nakabukas yung computer mo sa bahay dahil kailangan mo magtrabaho. Although may 8 to 5 p.m. shift, minsan nawawala na yon. And likewise, a negative impact to both the physical and mental well-being of individuals due to uncertainties. Hindi natin alam, again, kailan matatapos yung COVID-19 pandemic. Kailan magiging normal ang lahat? Kailan ulit ako makakagala? Hindi natin alam. It is uncertain. Okay, and that's why minsan it can have a negative impact on the mental well-being of individuals. Now, wala namang mali sa working from home, and likewise, there is nothing wrong with distance education. However, yung loss of the sense of connectivity can sometimes be brought upon by social isolation. So that is when the difficulty and the problems come in, when it starts attacking your mental health, especially due to social isolation. Now, ano exactly ang social isolation? So what exactly is social isolation? So, social isolation is defined as having little or no contact with the social medium, which lasts for an extended period of time. Okay, so yun ang word per word definition. Basically, mawala ang connection mo sa mga ibang tao or basically, wala kang way of connecting with other individuals. Nararanasan natin ito or yung mga iba nung nag-lockdown. Okay, so na-isolate sa mga provinces, hindi makauwi. Okay, until yung mga locally stranded individuals or there was an initiative to at least bring the locally stranded individuals home. Now, it's also a state of complete or near complete lack of contact between an individual and the society. So, we can actually feel socially isolated, especially with the social distancing going on, okay? Lack of physical presence of, let's say, yung mga loved ones natin, yung mga pamilya natin, so on and so forth, okay? And yung social isolation, actually, nararanasan ng mga astronauts rin. Kaya nilabas ng NASA yung problem na ito. So, NASA astronauts have been flying to space for more than 50 years and for nearly 20 years. Okay, so crew members would normally go through space tasks and remain socially isolated there. Okay, as a result, yung social isolation nararanasan rin ng mga astronauts. Okay, pero social isolation can sometimes be voluntary. Now, majority, unfortunately, of the cases of social isolation happen involuntarily. So, yung social isolation, it's a problem dito sa COVID-19 pandemic. It's a problem sa space missions. However, it is actually a problem that has been plaguing the general population. Hindi lang natin napapansin. Paano? Okay, so common siya sa mga elderly with declining physical abilities or socializing abilities. Okay, so yung mga matatanda na nahirapan na gumalaw, so that is one, okay, way social isolation can attack an individual. Likewise, yung mga may sakit with cancer or muscle dystrophy or illnesses that limit mobility. Likewise, may mga individuals with physical and mental conditions that are stigmatized. Kunyari, yung mga individuals na may HIV or AIDS, yung mga may Asperger's, yung mga may autism, or yung mga immigrants or individuals living in dormitories and individuals part of the LGBT community. So usually these are individuals that can have social isolation. So kahit wala pa yung COVID-19 pandemic, nararanasan na actually yung social isolation ng mga ibang tao. Okay. So ano naman yung impact of social isolation? So we can actually feel it. Nararamdaman na natin. Working from home, social distancing, distance education. Pero what exactly is the impact of social isolation to our mental health? Okay. Now, from a space perspective, ang social isolation can bring upon issues such as a decline in cognitive condition. Ibig sabihin, mas mahirapan mag-isip ang tao. Mas mahirapan mag-focus ang tao. Okay, now, dahil dito, yung mga astronauts that suffer, okay, these effects ng social isolation can make mistakes. So, pwede silang magkamali. And alam natin, yung mga space missions, napaka-mahal sila. So, one mistake from an astronaut can actually cause a lot of economic damage to a space mission. Now, unfortunately, wala pang exact figures nag-release yung NASA on how much ang nalulose nila due to human errors or sa pagkakamali ng mga astronauts. But we can assume that it is a pretty pricey and a costly price. Kasi posible yung mga buhay ng mga astronauts ang madadamay sa pagkakamali nila. Now, likewise, dito naman sa mga tao, it's not, okay, necessarily limited to the following. So, posible yung headaches or yung anxiety-induced nausea, yung sasakit yung tiyan mo, digestive problems, hyperventilation, yung feel mong hindi mo mahabol yung hinga mo or feel mo nalulunod ikaw, insomnia, yung hindi ka makatulog, decreased immunity, which is dangerous. So, delikado yung decreased immunity ngayon, lalo na sa COVID. Yung mga psychosomatic symptoms and worse, yung mga suicide. Now, there was a news article that was released na yung mga Philippine priests are calling on the rising cases of suicide due to mental health. And this is due to, again, yung mga anxiety, depression, decline in productivity, mga panic attacks, hallucination. Now, at worst case, dito pumapasok yung mga tinatawag nating mental health emergencies. So yung mga suicidal thoughts, yung mga schizophrenia, yung mga severe panic attacks. Okay, so ano exactly yung mga common signs ng mga social isolation stress? So yung mga naiirita ikaw, nagagalit ikaw, feeling uncertain, nervous or anxious, so lacking motivation, wala kang lakas, nabu-burn out ka na, parang nawawalan ka na ng gana mag-aral, nawawalan ka ng gana gawin yung trabaho, nahirapan ka matulog, nahirapan ka mag-concentrate. So all this is normally a reason of an overdrive of neurons na nandito sa utak natin. So these are a cause, okay? These are all caused by neurological factors in our brain. Okay, so hindi siya pa-drama-drama lang. Meron talaga nangyayari sa brains natin as a result of these. Pero yung mga common triggers, they normally come off through the following. So concern about the risk of being exposed. So yung mga frontliners, this is very, very common. Natatakot na baka mahawaan sila tapos mahawa nila yung mga personal and yung mga family members nila. Likewise, taking care of personal and family needs while working, managing a different workload. So lack of access to the tools and equipment needed to perform your job. So in order for you to, let's say, study, bago ka makaaral or para makaturo for online learning or online meetings, kailangan stable yung net mo. Baka mahirap yon kung nasa lugar ka na hindi abot ng mga signals. Now, dahil sa lack of resources, feeling na hindi ka makaka-contribute sa work mo and as a result, you are guilty about not being on the front line. So again, hindi ka rin certain about the future of your workplace or employment. May trabaho ka pa ba 1 month from now, 2 months from now? Magko-close ba yung establishment mo dahil sa COVID-19? Maraming factors yun. Lalo na yung pagbabago. So, learning new communication tools, yung paggamit ng Zoom, paggamit ng Google Meet, paggamit ng mga new platforms for online learning. So, maraming triggers talaga that can severely affect your mental health during the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay. Again, yung mga symptoms na nararanasan natin, hindi rin natin alam alin talaga. COVID-19 na ba siya? Anxiety attack lang ba siya? Or panic attack siya? Okay, so this image was taken from the CDC with regards to anxiety attacks in COVID-19. As we can see, may mga overlapping symptoms talaga yung mga panic attacks. Nakakatakot talaga yung panic attacks, lalo na if it's your first time to feel it. Kung first time mo maranasan ang panic attack, nakakatakot, dumidilim yung paningin mo, hindi ka makahinga, tumitibog yung puso mo. Feel mo talaga parang nag-heart attack ikaw or mamamatay ikaw, pero kung i-check up ikaw, wala namang problema yon. So, that is a cause of a lot of adrenaline or an imbalance of neurons in your brain. Okay, hindi yon drama lang. Okay, so, hindi natin alam anxiety attack ba siya or COVID-19. Ayun, yun pang isang katakutan ng mga karamihan na tao. So kung hindi sila makahinga, takot sila, baka COVID-19 na ito. Pero in reality, anxiety attack lang siya or panic attack lang siya. Okay, so there are a lot of symptoms. Hindi talaga natin alam which is which. Pero chills, shaking, sweating, chest pain, marami yan. At lalo na kung first time mo maranasan, matatakot ikaw, you'll worry about when it will happen again, and as a result, it can prevent you from actually doing anything because you are worried about when the panic attack will happen again. Hindi ka na makafocus sa trabaho kasi takot ka na baka biglang mahimatay ikaw kasi magpa-panic attack ka ulit, at as a result, never-ending cycle yon. Okay, so may mga tinatawag tayong psychosomatic symptoms. Yung mga psychosomatic symptoms, yung mga symptoms na medyo maliit lang, pero dahil sa anxiety or dahil sa brain activity, mas lumalala siya. Okay, so yung nararamdaman mong medyo maliit na chest pain, dahil nanonervous ikaw or dahil sa anxiety mo, mas lumalala, mas nag-center, mas nagfo-focus yung mga nerves mo sa lugar na yon. Kaya mas lumalala. And as a result, you end up thinking that an anxiety attack is a heart attack. Okay. Likewise, yung mga maliit lang na, let's say, plema sa lalamunan natin, kung magpapanik ikaw, mas ma-magnify yung pakiramdaman mo. You'll think it's a sore throat. Again, isipin mo, COVID-19 siya. Pero hindi, anxiety lang siya. Okay, so pwede rin yung mga stomach acids mo as a result of stress, aakyat, at yun ang magdadala ng sore throat mo galing sa tiyan natin, yung mga stomach acids, at hindi dahil sa virus. Pero again, dahil sa mental health, natatakot na tayo alin talaga yung alin. So that is something that can trigger a mental health emergency as a result of social isolation. So, dahil sa maraming factors na yon, we decided, kaming team, ito ang hatakin naming problema, isolation solution. So, social distancing policies enacted over the world during the COVID-19 pandemic have left many people socially isolated. I'm sure nakaka-relate ang lahat. Kami, yung ginawa namin yung snail space, naranasan namin ito. Kaya your challenge is to develop innovative solutions to combat social isolation. So kami, when we saw this problem, when we saw this challenge, this was what we decided to target. Okay, so ano naman yung magiging solutions namin to social isolation? So, apply findings from research conducted by NASA and health organizations tulad ng CDC, World Health Organization, and NIH tungkol sa social isolation. Now, sa research and information gathered, yung findings involved proper mental health care, proper mental stimulus, and providing proper social interaction when possible. Now, the solution should contain a module that will also enable action against mental health emergencies or any emergencies per se. And likewise, yung solution dapat lightweight siya. So, madali lang siya dalhin. So, pwede siyang dalhin ng mga astronauts pagkalabas nila ng Earth, or pwede mong dalhin kung let's say magtatrabaho ka sa ibang bansa or you are going away from your family for a while. So it is something that you can keep as a safe space for you. So, dahil dito, ginawa namin yung tinawag nating solution, si Snail Space. Okay, so Snail Space is a safe space that you can enjoy like a at a snail space. Okay, so slow down, breathe, bring your space with you like a snail. So be it on Earth or in outer space. So, medyo fast-paced yung mundo ngayon. Lahat tayo, kailangan natin ng results. Yung bosses natin, kailangan ng mga results galing sa trabaho niyo as soon as possible. Mga customers, kailangan nila yung binibili nila from you. Okay, yung mga teachers, kailangan nila yung mga assignments kaagad. Fast-paced yung mga terms. Okay, so slow down, okay? Pahinga muna kayo. Breathe and bring your space with you parang snail. Okay, so basically ito yung main idea ng snail space. So, ang snail space is basically a word play for snail space. Okay, snail space, ibig sabihin kasing bilis mo lang ang snail. Okay, so medyo mabagal yung mga snails kumilos, pero it's not a bad thing. Kasi this app, it encourages users or individuals to slow down in the midst of a fast-paced world. Again, yung world natin ngayon, yung mundo natin ngayon, medyo fast-paced siya. Okay, so be at your own comfort. And like snails that bring their safe spaces with them, so yung pagdadala nila ng shell nila, yung bahay nila, the app acts as a safe space that users can bring with them. Okay? So basically, yung mga modules ni Snail Space are the following. So social connectivity for emergencies. Okay, so it automatically dials the emergency hotline given a user's location. Tapos creativity and productivity for mental stimulus to keep your mind preoccupied, which as much as possible is something that we want in keeping our mental health up and running as much as possible para hindi siya ma-overwhelmed. Hindi rin siya at least masyadong focus sa nagbibigay ng anxiety sa inyo. Now, in case that happens, yung mental well-being module should be something against panic attack emergencies. And likewise, yung mga meditation. So, tuwing nararanasan mo yung panic attack, nahihirapan ka na, may module na makakatulong sa'yo. Likewise, yung COVID-19, assurance against COVID-19. Maraming bagay tungkol sa COVID-19 ang nakaka-stress sa atin, nakaka-nervous sa atin, at minsan nakaka-trigger rin ng anxiety. So, yung module na ito, it should at least mitigate that uncertainty or anxiety by providing you assurance. Once again, pagka kinakabahan ka about something, kunyari, hindi natin alam ano mangyayari, hindi natin alam kung kailan matatapos yung pandemic. Okay, so at least may information na medyo alam natin or medyo may bibigay sa iyo. So, yung mga safe spaces natin, okay, so si Snail Space contains a module that in times of emergencies, users may call emergency hotlines. Pero, syempre, emergency yan. Okay, so baka magpapanik yung tao, so on and so forth. So, yung emergency hotline, nakamap according sa lokasyon ng user. So, via GPS siya. Now, yung information ng user, however, is going to be secure kasi hindi namin sinustore yung information. Pero, yung GPS nila is going to be mapped according to a database of emergency hotline. So, depende kung nasa ibang bansa ikaw, yung emergency hotline ng bansa na yon is going to be mapped to your location. So, yun yung emergency hotline na idadial. Likewise, kung let's say, nasa ibang lugar ikaw, may LGU with a corresponding emergency hotline, depende sa GPS mo, yun ang emergency hotline na tatawagan. Automatic na siya sa app. Okay. And for mental stimulus, ayun. So, para productive ikaw or in times of stress, pwede ka mag-slow down and gumamit ng coloring book or journal that we designed. Okay, so yung journal at saka yung coloring book na ito, nilagay namin sa module based on research about mental well-being. So, pwede ka mag-coloring book whether you're in Earth, in the Philippines, or kahit nasa outer space ikaw bilang astronaut. Okay. Now, kung let's say, dahil sa COVID-19, may mga memories ikaw namimiss. So, namimiss mo yung pag-samgyup nyo, namimiss nyo yung pag-inuman ninyo, namimiss nyo yung mga family gatherings ninyo. So, you can also get pictures of something, okay, or that memory. Okay, so kunyari, namimiss nyo na rin yung jowa ninyo. Okay, so, you want to be romantic, gusto nyo sila kiligin. Ayun, pwede nyo gawing black and white yung colors nila. So, using a line art algorithm, gagawin niyang line art yung photo. Tapos, pwede nyo gawing coloring book or coloring page yung photo na yon. So, habang nagre-reminisce ikaw, habang namimiss mo yon, nakakalagay ka ng kulay sa buhay mo. Okay. So, likewise, pwede ka rin mag-meditate at your own space. Now, yung music na nilagay namin dito, pwede nyo i-customize. So, as much as possible, pwede kayo maglagay ng music ninyo. Pero sa prototype na ginawa namin, yung music na ginamit namin is royalty-free. And at the same time, gumamit kami ng tinatawag na binaural beats na nakaka-stimulate sa ating utak in different ways. So, pwede yung music with binaural beats na nakaka-stimulate ng relaxation or easy sleep or positive thinking, basically ganun. Pero kung may trip kayong kanta para sa pag-meditate ninyo, pwede nyo rin i-load. Okay. Tapos, yung pinakadelikado talaga in terms of mental health emergencies is yung tinatawag nating panic attack. So, panic attack is yung pakiramdaman na hindi na tayo makahinga. Okay, so we cannot breathe. Parang nalulunod tayo kahit hindi naman tayo nasa ilalim ng tubig. Okay, so para ma-counter yung panic attack, dapat makuha mo yung breath mo ng maayos. Okay, so yung module natin, may exercise para makuha mo yung breath mo. So may sun, okay, may araw na kunyari, i-hug ikaw, yayakapin ikaw. Now, mag-inhale ka tuwing palapit sa'yo, exhale ka tuwing lalayo siya. Inhale, exhale. Now, kung sobra rin yung paghingang mo, there's also what we call the mindfulness exercise. So, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So, 5 things you can see. 5 bagay na nakikita mo. 4 things you can touch or 4 na bagay na nahawakan mo. 3 bagay na naririnig mo. 3 things you can hear. 2 bagay na naamoy mo or 2 things you can smell and 1 thing you can taste. So, may picture na ibibigay sa iyo. Identify ka. Ano ang 5 bagay na nakikita mo? 4 na bagay na nahawakan mo. 3 bagay na naririnig mo, 2 bagay na naamoy mo, at 1 bagay na nalalasahan mo. Okay, so, yung mindfulness module nandoon rin para ma-counter yung mga panic attacks na nararanasan mo. So, if you can't breathe, okay, in terms of mental health emergencies. Now, likewise, may space rin para sa COVID-19. So kung talagang kinakabahan ka or natatakot ka about sa COVID-19, ma-affected ba ako, mahawa ba ako, may mga modules na sasabihin sa'yo ano talaga yung mga totoo. So walang fake news, walang bad vibes as much as possible. So mga good news lang and then any assurance lang. So para ma-ease yung mga hindi mo alam tungkol sa COVID-19, yung mga uncertainties, so on and so forth.
Ayan, hello,
Okay.
Art. Art,
Yes?
yan. Meron lang
Hi.
quick question from one of our audience, no?
Sige.
Para mapahinggan niya. Question ni Rachel Cerita, sabi niya, is it an offline app po ba or online that needs data? Especially with the emergency calls. Thank you, yon.
Yung offline app, the online part basically, para lang siya sa pag-sharing if ever you wish to share yung mga coloring apps. Okay. Now, may ginagawa kaming module para yung emergency. It's basically, ang kailangan lang niya is yung GPS. So, hindi necessary online, pero dapat naka-on yung GPS mo. Kasi yung GPS, ginawa namin, maglalagay ng cache para yung database of emergency hotlines naka-map based sa GPS mo. Okay, so isa yun sa issue na napansin namin about online or offline. So we also wanted something that can include individuals or yung mga users na nasa lugar na mahina yung signal. Pero as much as possible, dapat naka-on yung GPS.
Yan. Thank you, Art. Yan. Quick
Okay.
na lang. Kasi baka mamaya, yung iba papasok palabas din sa ating live. So, importanteng masagot. Thank you, Art. Thank you.
Okay lang. Thank you rin
Thank
for
you,
the
Rachel.
question.
Yan.
Okay, thank you rin for the question. Okay, so anyway, future directions of this app, which is still under development, so nasa R&D phase pa kami. We want to connect to a designated therapist. So mostly for mga astronauts on standby. So let's say may mga psychiatrists on standby on a particular area. So ito, nag-R&D pa kami. Likewise, expand yung mga hotline availabilities. Tapos, gumawa ng chatbot with a sentiment analysis and natural language processing. So, makakausap nyo si Sherlock Holmes. So, chatbot siya. Pero may sentiment analysis si Sherlock Holmes. So, malalaman niya ano ang nararamdaman mo sa sinasabi mo, ano rin yung, let's say, mga issues mo. So, si Sherlock Holmes can hopefully provide you with someone to talk to. Although chatbot nga siya. Tapos, yung mga productivity and mental stimulus, may mga modules pa rin kaming ginagawa. Okay, so more recreational modules for mindfulness and mental stimuli. Tapos for mental well-being rin, so more for mindfulness exercise and more modules against physical well-being and data security. Okay. Likewise, yung assurance against COVID-19, let's say matatapos yung pandemic na ito in the future, magiging general module siya using web crawling and data mining. So dito, baka kailangan ng online data for this one. So kunyari, gusto mo malaman about dogs or yung mga gusto mo pictures ng mga cute na dogs. Okay, so meron yan. So maghahanap siya ng information about cute dogs. Or mahilig ka sa K-pop, tapos may bias ikaw na gusto mong mag-fanboy or fangirl about, ayun, so mag-web crawl siya at data mine siya about specific topics regarding a user's own choosing. Okay. So, si Snail Space, hindi pa siya available sa Google Play. Unfortunately, nasa R&D pa siya. Pero a prototype that was submitted during the hackathon can be downloaded in the URL. Okay, so nasa Android siya, hindi pa siya supported for iOS. Okay? So, I also wanted to acknowledge rin yung mga individuals who are currently involved in developing this app. Okay, so lahat kami, mga alumni from De La Salle University at saka lahat kami, iba-iba yung mga backgrounds namin. So may taga Electronics and Communications in Engineering, okay, meron rin in Information Systems, and then may mga computer science graduates and mga web developers, automation experts, and analysts. Okay? So likewise, ayun, gusto ko rin ipakilala sa inyo si Sherlock Holmes. So Sherlock Holmes is the mascot. So a space traveling snail locked in his shell, aka his own home. Kaya tawag siya Sherlock Holmes, 'di ba? Si Sherlock Holmes. Okay. And he's an advocate for mental wellness in the midst of pandemics and for those in social isolation. Okay? So basically, yun ang presentation ko for Snail Space. Okay. And Snail Space, again, hindi siya tool and hindi siya app for diagnosing mental health illnesses. Likewise, hindi siya psychiatrist. Okay. But it is an app that will provide you comfort during pandemics, okay, or during social isolation, which is something very important. Okay? Na-overlook natin ito kasi syempre in order for us to do our role or play our role in helping the frontliners out, we have to adhere by the guidelines. Unfortunately, yung guidelines may require us to go through social isolation. Now, as we are socially isolated, kailangan pa natin magtrabaho, kailangan rin natin mag-aral or gawin yung mga kailangan natin para umunlad yung bansa. Unfortunately, in the process, napapahamak yung mental health natin. So, what Snail Space is, it is something that will help your mental health stay fit or at least improve it para magawa mo yung role bilang isang individual para matulungan mag-unlad yung bansa habang nilalaban natin ang pandemic bilang Pilipino. Okay.
Wow, napaka-interesting lang talaga, no? Talagang nakatuto ko. Sa tapos may mga in-invite ako na friends ko, sabi ko talaga ito importante sa inyo kasi alam ko ibang kaibigan ko talagang sabi na may COVID na yata ako, sumasakit yung dibdib ko, nahihilo ako. Pero technically, no, ayon doon sa nabasa ko, hindi naman pala lahat
Hindi
dahil
lahat.
din sa COVID.
Yun rin ang mahirap eh. Kasi we have what we call is psychosomatic symptoms that is brought upon by anxiety. Minsan, hindi ganun kalala yung symptoms. Pero dahil nag-worry ikaw, yung mga brain signals napupunta doon, so mas na-emphasize yung pakiramdaman natin. And that can lead to what we call is a severe panic attack due to an overrun of adrenaline and all sorts of neural signals. So, hindi siya pa-drama-drama lang. Meron talaga nangyayari sa utak natin. Okay, and that is what causes that. So, yun ang delikado about not keeping your mental health up. So, posible rin yung mental health ang mangyayari. Magiging nervous ikaw, hindi ka kakain ng maayos. As a result, kung hindi ka kakain ng maayos, that can lead to decreased immunity or worse, yung hypoglycemia. Tapos yung hypoglycemia, sasama na naman yung pakiramdaman mo, mas kung ano-ano na naman may isip mo, it's a never-ending cycle. Kaya importante talaga yung mental health natin is taken care of. It is something that is overlooked. And unfortunately, medyo taboo siya. Kasi parang if you discuss it, there are some things na medyo controversial about it.
Parang ganun,
Oo, parang ganun. Parang, baliw ka ba? Parang kung sasabihin, alam mo, feel ko, atakin ako sa puso. Parang, baliw ka ba? Alam mo yun, medyo may ano rin eh. So, there's taboo about it. Tapos, parang hindi siya openly discussed. Pero ngayon, may mga mental health acts na that are being passed. Nare-recognize na rin siya formally by international health organizations na it exists talaga. Hindi lang siya pa-drama-drama. Now, unfortunately, maraming hindi talaga, meron talaga siya eh. Pero they don't seek help and as a result, there are many acts that end up happening. So, minsan, a simple panic attack can lead to severe symptoms kung hindi siya na-address. Kunyari, it can lead to schizophrenia, psychosis, okay? And then doon nangyayari ang mga what we know are mental health emergencies na kunyari, hindi natin ma-imagine bakit nagagawa ng isang tao yun. Oo, so, yun eh.
So yan, pakilala natin muna to let us know more about the NASA Space Hubs Challenge. Of course, ito yung punong abala ng NASA Space Hubs sa Pilipinas. Let's welcome Michael Lance Dumagas.
Hi, Michael.
Sir Michael, how are you?
There you are.
Oh, wala kang sound yata ngayon.
Wala kang sound, Michael.
Hello. Ayan.
Thank you so much, David, for inviting us in another episode of Ako at ang Kalikasan TV. Ayan. At saka ayun, thank you rin Art para samahan tayo dito. And
thank you rin.
No? At saka higit sa lahat sa ating mga tagapakinig, maraming salamat sa nakikinig din. Natuto tayo sa isang project na naman na ginawa ng mga Pilipino to address issues related to the COVID-19 pandemic using space data from NASA and partner agencies, no? So itong napakinggan natin kanina, no, they address the problem of tinatawag na social isolation. Kasi sa COVID-19, sa lockdown, no, nagkakaroon kasi nga dahil sa pandemya, yung ating pamahalaan, they had quarantine and lockdown to avoid yung lalong kumalat pa yung coronavirus. Then syempre, during sa lockdown, syempre di tayo lumalabas ng bahay, di ba? Kaya nararanasan natin na mapag-isa. Ayan. At saka hindi lang, kumbaga ang issue lang kasi dito, hindi lang naman tayo din ang nakakaranas nitong tinatawag na social isolation. Pati rin yung astronaut dun sa kalawakan, no? Particularly in the International Space Station. Nararanasan din nila na mapag-isa, di ba? Na malumbay, na malungkot. And syempre, gaya ng sinabi ni Art din, na may mga mental problems din na nangyayari dahil dito sa isolation na to. So ang maganda kasi dito, we incorporated what we learn from the space technology ngayon. Dinemonstrate natin ng mga kapwa Pilipino natin from De La Salle University, no? Para ma-address din yung social isolation na naranasan naman natin dito sa lupa. Yan. Kaya ako ay tuwan-tuwa, ikinararangal ko na ang ating bisita ngayong hapon, yun nga, kinilala siya bilang isang global finalist, no?
Wow.
Ng NASA at saka ng partner agencies ng European Space Agency, Japan Aerospace and Exploration Agency, Kines ng France, and Canadian Space Agency, no? At saka tuwan-tuwa ako ngayon at yun nga na binigyan tayo ng pagkakataon ni David to discuss, no? To discuss this app to the public. Ayan.
Alam nyo kasi siguro yung iba nagtatanong, no? Dave, bakit ba sa Ako at ang Kalikasan TV, you are talking about people, you are talking about apps, what is the connection between these things and the environment? Kasi hanggang ngayon kasi merong small notion pa rin na pag sinabi mong kalikasan, halaman, yung mga hayop, yun lang yun eh. Pero ang kalikasan mo talaga is a holistic term which includes people, lalo lang ngayon sa COVID-19. Kasi pag yung mental health, tulad nito, space up na ito, mental health ang topic dito, you cannot be productive in addressing the issues brought about by your environment. And you can act in terms na hindi rin maganda para sa kalikasan. At the same time, these apps are yung mga gamit dito nakukuha sa mga pinrovide ng NASA, di ba? Itong mga data na ito is also part of the things that could help the environment address issues. Kaya po, topic natin ito ngayon. Kasi COVID-19, kanina kasi may napanood ako, natawa ko, alam niyo yun, may isang video na 13 minutes long, sinasabi niya, hoax daw yung COVID-19, gawa daw ng 5G, ito daw ay gawa ng New World Order, etc., etc. So sabi ko, alam mo yung mga isyong ganito, dapat mas natin pinag-uusapan kasi una, hindi ito hoax, no? Nakita na marami na apektuhan, marami nagkakasakit, at siguro sa study rin na Art, no? Sa during the process, alam nyo na ito ay hindi biro, talagang sakit na kailangan nating i-address ng tama, no?
Definitely.
Mental health, oh. Kasi ako, to be honest, at some point, alam mo yung pakiramdam na hindi ka makalabas, parang sabi ko, ano ba naman to? Parang hindi yung maintindihan, parang nalulungkot ka, tinatamad ka, pero hindi mo alam ano ang cause. Ano ba yun? Ganun ba yun?
Yun. Reason for that is may tinatawag tayong serotonin. Okay, that is a hormone that sends that happy chemical in the brain actually. Minsan kasi if you are very low in serotonin, that can induce what you call is that feeling of sadness na hindi mo maintindihan. So para siyang diabetes, no? Yung wala kang insulin para i-break down yung sugar in your body. So in the brain sense or in the mental health sense, lacking serotonin, it can actually bring upon that one. Oo, yun. So, kung hindi mo nararamdaman yon, okay, posible baka you're low in serotonin, so ayun, you're doing things that are damaging your mental health. So, parang slow down, relax, maybe take a nap, okay, or do something that you find enjoyable. Yung
Minsan
mahirap
kasi
lang talaga.
magagalit ka na lang, di ba? Parang out of nowhere.
Oo.
Tapos later malalaman, bakit nga ba ako naiinis? Ano ba kinagalit ko, di ba?
Oo.
Pero out of nowhere, di ba?
Oh, that is the result of an imbalance sa mga brain neurons eh. Again, hindi natin nakikita at saka hindi siya masyadong dinidiscuss. Pero hindi siya pa-drama-drama lang eh. Meron talaga nangyayari sa utak natin. Oo. So that is one explanation on that one. And again, I'm not a psychiatrist, okay, but this is based on personal experience with working with psychiatrists, okay, and with mental health research and research about healthcare in healthcare and well-being of individuals per se. So yun. So for viewers, ayun, you may want to see that one. You may want to read up about that one, yung serotonin. Hindi siya kasing sikat ng estrogen or yung dopamine, pero yung serotonin, serotonin, ayun, that is something that you'd like to educate yourself with. Oo, meron tayong lahat sa mga utak na yan. So kung kulang ka ng serotonin, ayan, that can bring about yung mga feelings of anxiety or yung nalulungkot ka for no reason, parang ganun. Oo.
Ayun, tanong ko naman dito kay Sir Lance, no? Yung bang Space Act this year, ano yung topic naman na balak resolbahin ng Space Apps Challenge this upcoming year para yung mga nanonood o yung mga gustong sumali makapaghanda naman?
Yeah, actually, yung ating Space Apps Challenge ay naganap last month, no? October 2 to 4. Oo. So, iba't ibang ano siya, no? Iba't ibang topic siya. So, yung pinagkaiba lang nung May tsaka nung October is that itong October kasi nung nakaraan is di yung annual hackathon na ginaganap pa natin ng NASA. Bali next year, October 2 to 3 naman, 2021. Kaya, ayan, art ha? October 2 to 3. Next year, ayan, ano tayo. Then, ang topic iba-iba, no? Tungkol halimbawa sa paggamit ng paano mo ba maita-translate yung mga space data na kinalap ng NASA at yung mga partner agencies mula sa kalawakan na mas maintindihan palalo ng mga scientists at yung mga ordinaryong tao. Yan, yung mga challenges. Pangalawa, paano ba nakakaapekto yung mga, paano natin malalaman yung epekto kung ano may nangyayari sa ating mundo, sa ating environment using space technology. Yan, iba-iba, no? Tsaka yung sustainability ng mundo. Paano natin mapapanatili yung ating tahanang planeta sa pamamagitan ng yung mga nakalap nating impormasyon galing outer space. So, actually kanina David, no, napansin ko talagang ito yung isa sa mga pinakatanong, ano bang kinalaman ng COVID-19 sa kalikasan? No?
Ayan.
Well, actually, kung makikita natin, may epekto ang COVID-19 sa kalikasan. Actually, ito, gusto ko sanang ipakita, no? Sige, pwede natin i-share screen siguro. Ito ay imahe ng troposcopic nitrogen dioxide density na nakita ng NASA, no? Sa China nung kasagsagan ng COVID-19 pandemic. So nakita natin dito is that from January, kung saan nag-umpisa itong virus na to, ito yung kanyang NO2 levels, no? Talagang malaki, no? Malaki kasi industrialized yung yung lugar na yan sa China eh, no? Maraming pabrika, maraming emitters of pollution. So nung nag-implement ng China ng mga lockdown procedures nung February, nawala yung nitrogen dioxide. So ito ay nakalap using the Sentinel-5 satellite ng European Space Agency, no? So yung iba pa diyan is that na nakita rin ng yung epekto din ng COVID-19 pandemic is hindi nagamit naman yung mga modes of transportation. Kasi nga yung mga tao kasi diyan naka-lockdown, hindi gumagalaw. So nagkaroon ng pagbaba ng consumption ng crude oil, no? So itong mga bagay na to may epekto to sa environment. Itong nangyayaring pandemya, ganun din sa ekonomiya, no? So ang role ngayon ng space technology, ng Earth observation data is to learn these effects of the pandemic upang mas lalo nating maintindihan at gaano ba talaga nakakaapekto itong pandemya na to sa ating lipunan. Yes, nakakaapekto ito sa pangkalusugan bilang isang tao, no? Nakakaapekto ito sa mental health, no? Dahil sa social isolation. Yun nga, yun yung maganda dito kasi na-demonstrate din, no, ni Art and the team from De La Salle University na nakakaapekto pala sa mental health itong COVID-19 pandemic. And we can really when we can whatever learnings that we had dun sa na nakalap mula dun sa mga experience ng astronaut sa outer space, pwede palang i-apply din dito sa sarili nating lugar, sa mundo naman. So, yun. So, yun yung mga magandang application ng space technology in addressing social issues, lalong-lalo na yung sa issue ng epidemic. Yun.
Mm-hmm. And
Maganda
as what
siguro,
Sir David said, oo.
yung app talaga lagyan mo ng parang ng short link para mas madaling ma-download, no? Kasi sabi dito ni Sir Emmanuel Astillero, I have been watching since the start of presentation. Sabi nga, salamat daw. It's about mental health and anxiety due to social isolation. Sabi naman ni Sir Chot, ang presidente ng Aksyon Kalikasan, this app has lots of potentials including accessing help during emergencies and preventing some emergencies itself.
Thank you so much. Okay, so sige, I will post the page kasi the page of our project, you can find the URL of our prototype that we submitted. Android pa siya, hindi siya iOS. Oo. Ayan, we are still in the midst of R&D, so ayun, I can't give an exact due date on when this is going to be available kasi lahat kami na nagde-develop, we're developing this on the side kasi may mga full-time jobs pa kaming lahat at saka studies, at least on my case, on the side. Pero we are developing this one as a way of using our expertise to give back and help other individuals, not just in the Philippine society, but also for other individuals around this world who we feel would need a lot of help. Oo.
Ayan po yung link sa baba. Ayan, binigyan ko na. Pinost natin yung link. Medyo mahaba-haba. Yan, pero pakitandaan po para if you want to download, downloadable yung app dito, no? Art, right?
Nasa feel free to download the .apk. Nandiyan siya.
I think I will create a blog about it, probably a feature of your app sa blog ko para may pakita din natin kung anong use ng app, no? Kasi sabi nga ni talagang use mo nito, no? Halimbawa may nararamdaman kang hindi maganda, parang feeling mo, parang gusto mong, kasi nakita ko mga kaibigan ko, marami yung bigla lang po sa Facebook, may las-las sa o sabi niya, papakamatay na siya, mga ganun. So ito, I think this is helpful probably beyond COVID-19, right, Art? Di ba?
Yeah. Actually, even when the COVID-19 pandemic is there, actually, yun nga, sinabi ko, kahit bago pa nagsimula yung COVID-19 pandemic, nandyan na siya talaga. Mas na-emphasize at mas nag-highlight, mas lumalabas yung issues nung nagka-COVID-19. So, parang aside from the coronavirus spreading around, mas lumalay at saka mas na-magnify yung issue of this existing. It's been under our noses lang. We just haven't been strong enough, or parang, hindi naman we haven't been strong enough. Parang, there is this stigma behind it na kaya medyo apprehensive yung tao magsalita tungkol doon. Even amongst our friends. Kahit sa mga kaibigan natin, minsan nahihiya yung iba mag-open up kasi baka ma-judge or sasabihin lang nagdradrama ka lang.
Oh, yun, marami yung ganun.
Yun. at the same time, hindi mo sila ma-blame. You can't blame them kasi hindi dahil sa ignorance yun. But yun kasi, it is not openly discussed in general. Kaya marami hindi na-inform about the correct and the true nature of it. So, normally, yung mga nagsasabi, kunyari may mga stories of children na parang nagrereklamo sila, tapos sasabihin lang ng parents na nagdadrama lang yung anak nila, tapos eventually, kung may ginawa ng hindi maintindihan yung magulang, tapos magtataka yung magulang ano nangyari, ayun, again, I wouldn't say kasalanan ng magulang yon. It's because hindi nga sila informed yung true nature ng mental health na baka meron yung anak nila, which is a sad reality today. Okay, so hindi talaga natin grasp yung full concept. And lalo na sometimes yung mga individuals that are medyo far into it already, yung lagpas na sila sa panic attacks, lagpas na sila sa emergency, sa mental health emergencies, medyo mahirap na to be with them. Okay, so yung parang
Question lang,
sila na yung mga ina-avoid nyo, di ba? Yung mga may
question lang Art,
psychotic.
no? Yung bang emergency number nito, does it include the mga suicide hotline o parang mga ganun, mga help for counseling, it includes like, so ibig mo sabihin, kahit hindi yung mismong tao, ba, parent, magulang ka, gusto mong, itong app na to makakatulong sa ba, na obserbahan mo yung anak mo na may mga ganitong symptoms, it can also help parents, right?
Yes, definitely.
Kasi
So
ako,
that is
I have a friend na siguro last year talagang, hindi ko na mabanggitin, no? Pero kaibigan ko to, bata pa. Tapos nakita na lang nila, nawawala, kala kinidnap. Then they found out later na tumalon siya sa river,
oh
tapos
my.
nagpakamatay pala. Tapos meron na palang problema yung bata. Hindi nila nalalaman kasi masaya and everything. Tapos later on, yung pala sa ibang tao nagsasabi. So I think, without bias of the previous apps, no, this is, kasi yung level ng app ninyo is vote for COVID, and at the same time, it relates to a major issue, I think, around the world, even before
Oo.
COVID. No?
It's actually a major issue, pero yun nga, may taboo at may stigma. So an individual, okay, I'm not speaking as a psychiatrist, pero I'm speaking as, let's say, as someone who is empathetic or who's able to empathize na parang dumadaan ka na nga through these difficult times. Parang the last thing you'll need is to be judged. Okay, so
Tama.
again, para siyang diabetes, may issue ka sa utak mo kasi may imbalance in hormones, so may imbalance ka in endorphins, in dopamine, in serotonin. Tapos hindi mo naman kasalanan, or it can be brought upon by something that happened in the past. Okay, so parang feeling judged instead of being supported or feeling support, mas lalala siya. So kunyari parang it's very similar to, let's say, if you have diabetes, instead of cutting down sugar, someone is feeding you more sugar, kaya mas lumalala siya. Pero, yung difference is kasi, yung diabetes, we know more about it. Yung mental health kasi, it's not very well known. Okay? So, kaya unfortunately, sa mga hindi nakakaintindi, you cannot blame them. Kasi it's not openly discussed. Again, that is where we put snail space in the picture. Kasi meron rin, may mga tao rin, takot sila mag-ask for help. Okay, so one thing we also thought about is na si Snail Space, it will not diagnose you. But it can give you the strength and the assurance na it's normal, okay, to feel that way, and having something wrong or going through social isolation or feeling mental health issues due to these pandemics. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? But it can at least give you the strength and hopefully motivate you to actually seek help. Okay, so yun. Parang hindi siya magda-diagnose, pero it is assurance na it's still a safe space, but if, let's say, this safe space has actually a module that can give you the boost to go out and seek help. Ayun yun eh. Parang nagsasabi na if you feel like there is someone, or if you really feel like you need help, seek help. Pero maraming tao talaga medyo ma-pride or nahihiya, kaya nahihirapan sila mag-seek help. So ayaw rin nila kasi ma-judge, kaya hindi sila nag-open up. Eventually, nag-progress through a very difficult mental health emergency na lumalala na talaga yung symptoms until eventually we know what happens next. So it normally ends up becoming tragic, pero thankfully we have networks that are slowly opening up and becoming more accepting about these. Yun nga lang, there is still a vast majority out there na hindi pa rin ganun ka well-informed about this one. And again, we don't blame those people. It's not their fault. But, ayun, if we can work on initiatives that can bring these forward, um, as much as possible, we made it a personal dedication to do so. And that is one of the reasons why we went ahead with Snail Space and this particular problem.
Yan, thank you.
Mm-mm.
So, yan, sabi nga ni connection naman daw ng COVID-19. Yan, sabi niya, a direct relationship between the pandemic to the environment is the reality that COVID is a zoonotic disease. It has
Yes,
something to do
definitely.
with what we do to our wildlife. Yan po
Mm,
ang
so
katotohanan.
yes.
Sa wildlife talaga yan galing, hindi
Oo.
po sa 5G.
Hindi natin, yun nga, hindi natin alam, as I mentioned, we don't know, did it come from bats, did it come from pangolins? Pero what research has shown, it is indeed a zoonotic disease. So unfortunately, ayun, veering away from the main topic, the more we intrude on Mother Nature, the more these viruses and eventually pandemics come to us. So tulad yung Ebola, okay, the bubonic plague, we got the Black Death. We have got yung Spanish flu, yung swine flu. Okay, and pati nga yung AIDS, if I'm not mistaken, HIV. They're all zoonotic. Okay, so medyo there are many more viruses out there. Harmless sila on the animal hosts. Okay, according to research. Pero if it makes a jump to humans, that
Yun,
can sometimes cause the virus to mutate. Okay, or mag-mutate siya, and that will cause it to jump to humans, and minsan that is what causes those novel viruses we've never seen before. Okay, so the more we intrude on Mother Nature, the more these pandemics might happen. At least that is what research has shown.
Ang recent nga talaga na shocking na nangyari, I think ito sa parting Europe, no, itong parang hayop na may fur na ginagawa nilang fur for the winter. 17 million na hayop na ganon ang papatayin kasi
Mink.
yung COVID-19, yan, mink cats. No?
Minks.
Yun yung nahawa ng COVID sila, tapos yung antibodies parang
Nag-mutate.
nawawala ng nag-mutate, tapos parang yung vaccine, if ever na magja-jump pa sa human uli, yung version na yon
It
ng
will be,
COVID, harder to fight for
oh
vaccine.
my.
So 17
Kaya nga
million
yun eh. Oo.
plus.
Actually, if I'm not mistaken, most of the, the deadliest viruses, in my opinion, yung mga hemorrhagic fevers, yung mga Ebola, we've got that one, tsaka yung the bubonic plague, mga zoonotic sila lahat.
HIV, zoonotic din, diba?
HIV, oo. Nakakatakot talaga. So, if we don't take care of Mother Nature will fight back. Remember that. And it's fighting back in the form of a virus that is basically shutting down not just the economy, parang ganun. Pero you can say, Mother Nature is doing this para it can heal. Okay, now, not to be a Debbie Downer, Mother Nature is healing nga, but at our expense. Okay, so what we want naman is solutions that will allow us to heal alongside Mother Nature. Oo, yun. So,
Napakaganda.
yeah, instead of Mother Nature healing at our expense, we heal alongside Mother Nature. Okay, so that's where
Kung
Snails Space
makakapagsalita si
comes
Mother
in.
Nature, baka sabihin niya, kasi kayo, umuunlad din naman kayo sa expense ko eh. So, patas na tayo.
Oh, yun. So yun. So Mother Nature healed at our expense. So now it's our job to look for solutions to help humankind heal with Mother Nature naman. So heal alongside. So instead of healing at the expense of the other, we heal alongside with each other. So help individuals heal in their mental health, help individuals heal in, let's say, the economic recovery, or help heal in, let's say, education about preventing further damages to Mother Nature, okay, to prevent future pandemics from happening. So that's where we, as individuals and as human beings, part of this nature, I believe, can help our society become better post-pandemic.
Yan. Sir Michael, yan. as manto na naman tayo siyempre sa ending ng ating AKTV Presents, of course with Snail Space. So Sir Michael, last words para sa mga interesado pa na sumali sa NASA Space Apps Challenge. At siyempre siguro, ano bang future ng mga apps na ito? I'm sure marami to, no? Paano ba makakatulong ang government at ang taong bayan para naman itong mga may kabuluhang apps na ito ay talaga namang magamit natin at di masayang yung effort ng mga nag-develop. Sir Michael.
Ayun. Ayun, bago ko sagutin yan,
Ayun,
pati
oo.
rabies pala.
Yan, very, very
dengue,
zoonotic diseases.
Itong mga bagay na to, no, itong nakita natin, napakinggan natin na mga apps, no, from our kapwa Pilipino natin, no, nagbigay sila ng effort na magpakita, mag-demonstrate the use of space technology to address real-world problems on Earth in space. Ayan, lalong-lalo na yung problem sa social isolation na nakaka-apekto din pala yung COVID-19 sa pandemic, sa ekonomiya ng bansa, sa ating pangkalusugan. Kaya ako nananawagan ako sa ating pamahalaan, sa ating mahal na Pangulo, sa ating mga kongresista, sa ating mga politiko, na sana mabigyang pansin naman ang mga talentong gawang ng Pinoy na ito. Bibihira lang in organizing space apps for the past years. Ngayon lang in the entirety of the whole world na nakilala ang mga gawang Pinoy. Hindi lang ng NASA. Okay? Hindi lang ng NASA, pati rin ng iba pang mga space agency kagaya ng JAXA, USA, Kines at saka CSA, no? Na itong mga gawang Pinoy na to, makakatulong to sa ating lipunan at saka sa buong mundo. Kaya sana, tulungan tayo ng ating pamahalaan upang mabigyan inspirasyon ang ating mga Pinoy innovator upang lalo pa nilang paunlarin, lalo pa nilang i-develop further ang mga apps na ito para lalong matulungan ang mga kapwa nating Pilipino, lalong-lalo na yung nakakaranas ng social isolation at higit sa lahat, mabigyan din ng importansya ng ating pamahalaan ang STEM, ang science, technology, engineering, mathematics sector. Nakakalungkot isipin. Sabi daw, parang 90% daw ng mga research proposals ngayong taon ay hindi daw mapupondohan ng DOST. Yan, 90% daw
Ang
ng
dami
mga
naman,
research.
90%.
Diba? So, nagtataka lang ako bakit ang laki ng prioridad upang patabain natin ang bulsa ng ilang mga opisyal sa PhilHealth, no? Bakit ang laki ng ating prioridad upang pagandahin yung isang porsyon ng Manila Bay dyan? Pero hindi natin mabigyan ng pagmamahal, hindi natin mabigyang recognition and appreciation ang kapwa nating Pilipino nagbigay karangalan sa ating sariling bansa. Hindi lang naman itong recognition na to bilang global finance, hindi naman to para lang sa sarili. Ito ay para sa bayan. Kaya nga, nananawagan ako, no, sa ating pamahalaan na bigyang pansin naman ng ating angking galing sa larangan ng science and technology. Sino bang makakapag-isip na dahil sa mga karanasan ng mga astronaut sa outer space, nakagawa si Art at saka ang mga innovators, students and graduates ng De La Salle University ng isang app na makaka-address ng social isolation and mental, yung epekto sa mental health ng nararanasang lockdown sa Pilipinas at saka sa buong mundo. Alam niyo ba sa lahat-lahat ng bansa sa buong mundo, Pilipinas lang yung may pinakamahabang lockdown in the history of mankind, no? So, ito ay isang seryosong usapin. Mental health is a very serious problem, a very serious issue na dapat nating pag-usapan. Totoo yung sinabi ni Art, it is a taboo, no? Nahihiya tayong pag-usapan ito. Talagang kahit sa ating sariling pamilya, sa ating kaibigan, nahihiya tayong i-share siguro kung ano may nararanasan nating problems sa mental health. Kaya nga, ang maganda yung ginawa ni Art na gumawa ng app eh. Di ba? Para kahit paano dun sa app na yon, di ba? Meron siyang siguro makakausap or makaka-interact, di ba? Nakakatuwa nga nung nakita ko yung mga illustrations nitong si Sherlock Holmes. Parang parang kaibigan mo, di ba? Parang kaibigan mo. Kaya nga nakakatuwa eh. No?
Imaginary friend. Maraming ganun, di ba? Pag may nararamdaman ka minsan, nagkakaroon ka na ng imaginary friend. At least nakikita mo yung itsura ni Sherlock Holmes. No?
Syempre. Kesa naman, di ba, may anak ikaw tapos may imaginary friend siya, di ba? Baka batakot ka pa, di ba?
Diba?
Kung sino yun. At least si Sherlock Holmes nakikita talaga.
Oo, pwedeng ma-interact yan. Pwedeng, di ba, through the app. At saka, open to any age yan, no, Art, di ba?
Definitely.
So, bata, matanda, nakakaranas ng kalungkutan, yung COVID-19 pandemic, dahil sa lockdown.
It is something natural as a human being to feel. Pero it no longer becomes natural when it becomes serious and it can lead to adverse actions. Pero normally before it reaches that phase, it undergoes through several stages. And as much as possible, before it even reaches that phase, parang there has to be help that has to be sought out. Pero yun nga, as you said, taboo siya. So how can you ask for help if you can't even talk about it? So yun.
So yun, sagutin lang natin. Rachel Fabian Serita said, I hope it can be downloadable in Play Store in the near future. It's a good app too. Pero you can download it on the link actually, no? And install it on your Android, Tom.
Hold on. Prototype. Yeah. Disclaimer, that was the prototype that we submitted. aka 2 days lang namin ginawa. Okay, only 2 days.
So wala bang updated na
Wala pa because we're in the R&D phase, so research and development phase, but we are doing it with passion and dedication. So it will be available
pressure natin ng konti. Kailan ba yan? December?
It depends on when the other developers are available kasi may work rin sila. Pero we are hard at work at this one at the moment.
Yan sabi ni Sir Chot, we are very proud of you. You are a pride of our nation. Indeed, the Filipino beauty goes beyond the body. We also possess beautiful minds. So, totoo
Thank you
naman.
so much.
Matalino talaga mga Pilipino.
Anything for the betterment of the Filipino society and the world, actually. Individuals around the world who need help but have difficulty reaching out and asking for it.
Yan, Sir Michael, may sabihin kayo?
Kaya nga ako nananawagan kay Secretary Duque at saka sa IATF. Mental problem is a serious concern because of the lockdown. Alam nyo, agapan natin to, Secretary Duque. May mga Pinoy innovators tayo dito na handang tumulong sa ating sarili.
Baka naman. Baka naman.
Baka naman, di ba?
I'm sure and there are many psychiatrists rin who are very qualified. Filipino psychiatrists are actually very, very good. Okay, from the ones I've worked with, and even my own personal psychiatrist, Dr. Armas Villavicencio. She's one I personally work with. So I believe there are psychiatrists out there that are really willing to help. Pero yun nga, exposing the Filipino individual to the realities of mental health and at least educating them with the truths na hindi siya drama-drama lang. I think we have to break the wall down and the barrier that actually hinders yung nagpapatigil sa kapwa Pilipino na i-approach yung mga psychiatrists or mag-seek out ng help na meron naman doon. Okay, so I think that's the first step. Dapat at least ma-educate or ma-bring out yung proper information tungkol sa mental health.
So ayan, Arthur.
Yun.
So final words to our viewers and future viewers of the show.
Okay.
Bago tayo mag-ending, ginanahan tayo. For the first time, mawapot tayo na mag 2 hours. Napakaganda kasi ng topic dito talaga. Sige, Art.
Okay, so yan, I know that this pandemic mahirap talaga siya. Okay, so kung nahihirapan ikaw, you don't feel productive, normal lang yan. Okay, it's part of our mental health. Now, maraming things rin na wala sa kontrolado natin. Okay, so kailan matatapos yung pandemic, it's out of our control. Ano ang mga ginagawa ng iba para ma-address yung pandemic, it's out of our control. Okay? So, likewise, kung may titirang bagyo, which I hope everyone is preparing for, it's out of our control. Pero what is in our control is how we treat our mental health. Okay? So, yung mental health natin, it is there. Okay? So, hindi ikaw nagdadrama. Meron talaga yan. Remember, it is the brain that is working. And yung brain natin, may dahilan kung bakit siya nasa pinakataas. Okay? May dahilan siya. It controls you, and if you don't take good care of it, ayun, may mga bagay na mangyayari na baka hindi natin magugusto in the end. Pero the bottom line is, okay, take care of our mental health. So, kung you feel unproductive, nalulungkot ikaw, wala kang gana magtrabaho dahil nawala yung barrier, okay, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, parang give yourself a break. Kailangan rin yung mental health natin, kailangan rin yung utak natin magpahinga. Pero again, maraming bagay talaga wala tayong control. We have no control over many things. So, ang i-focus on natin ay yung mga bagay that we have control over. Okay? And isa sa mga bagay that we have control over is how we react to the things and how we react to them in such a way na yung mental health natin will not be damaged against us. Okay? So, huwag tayo mag-react or huwag natin i-stress yung mga bagay na wala tayong control. So, ano yung ginagawa ng ibang tao para ma-address yung pandemic? Unfortunately, wala tayong control. Pero we have control on staying vigilant, okay? And as we are staying vigilant, following the protocols para hindi magkalat yung pandemic, and as we are following the protocols, how we stay mentally strong through our support with friends, families, at saka yung mga gusto mong gawin. So, magbasa ikaw, mag-siesta ikaw, hindi lang panay trabaho. Kailangan rin ng rest. And there is nothing wrong about not feeling productive. In fact, if you can just get through the day, pero feel mo na your mental health stayed strong, panalo na yon, especially in this pandemic and difficult time. And hopefully with Snail Space and our future work, matutulungan namin na yung mental health will further be spread out and information about it will be given to the general public para mas makakatulong tayo ng isa't isa para yung mental health natin will enable us to remain productive members of the Philippine society and the world.
Yan, thank you, Art. At syempre maraming
Yun.
salamat, Art and Michael, for again being with us. Syempre mga kaibigan, next week, next Wednesday, ang maimbitahan naman natin dito is another Space App Challenge finalist, Centennium. So sila naman is forming an app for a more accurate prediction of developing epidemics to aid health authorities and profile the user's risk better. So iba naman to, no?
Maganda
Parang
rin yan.
future prediction kung may paparating na epidemic. So, napakaganda rin pag-usapan.
Maganda rin siya.
So, yan guys, invite ko rin po kayo to join us, of course, sa Aksyon Kalikasan. Ayan, just go to our website, aksyon-kalikasan.org, and start taking action. So, Aksyon Kalikasan is, of course, the one producing AKTV, or Ako at ang Kalikasan TV. And we are an NGO advocating for the environment, sustainable development, green enterprise, governance, and of course, gender development. So website po natin, aksyon-kalikasan.org. And also, we would like to invite you guys to help us. Ito naman mga kaibigan, sa Green Party of the Philippines, we are we're having a fundraising to help the Bicol region. It's called Bangon Bicol. So yan po, punta lang kayo sa website, greenparty.ph/Bangon Bicol. We are trying to raise funds na I'm sure Bicol region na naman yata yung magiging target ngayon. Kadadaan na naman ng Catanduanes. So goal po natin na makapag-donate talaga ng tulong sa kanila. Pero siyempre, ladies and gentlemen, we are also advocating for a long-term solution sa climate change, which is of course climate change resiliency and adaptation. So punta po kayo sa website ng greenparty.ph. We have a statement there that lay out certain solutions to the climate. Ito mga kaibigan, pakita ko lang sa inyo. Itong latest statement about climate action, no? Ito, sinabi natin na paulit-ulit na tong climate change na to. Totoo po ito, hindi po ito peke. At syempre, kailangan natin i-realize, kailangan natin magtulong-tulong. At andito po yung actions na pwede natin gawin. Pakita ko lang ng malaki. Ayan po yung mga simpleng actions that we can do, no? Ayan. Laki ko ng konti. Ayan. Reforestation, designing ng better housing. Kasi tayo, di ba, sanay tayo, pag nasira bahay, gagawa ng bago, magkakabagyo uli, masisira uli. So I think the government and the people should start developing typhoon-resilient homes, better homes na talagang makaka-withstand. Tapos, better protection of life. Marami, andito po, agriculture, terracing, permeable pavements, better zoning and everything. So sabi nga namin, it's better that, alam mo, we create something that will be long-lasting, no? Rather than, alam niyo, just anong tawag doon? Band-aid solution na malimit ginagawa. Mas madali, pero hindi nagtatagal. Kailangan natin gumawa ngayon ng mas mahirap. So maraming salamat talaga sa mga kasama natin sa Space Apps Philippines sa kakapaon lang ng interview. Art, maraming salamat sa iyo.
Maraming salamat rin.
Natulungan ako kasi talagang ako minsan sa dami ng problema naisip ko, ano kaya, sana mawala na ako bukas. Hindi, totoo yun, no? Minsan naiisip natin yun. Kasi talagang pag-overwhelming yung mga problema mo, dumarating tayo doon. And I think sana ma-develop nyo to, magkaroon tayo ng final product that we could see on the Google App Store because it will help a lot of people, not only in the Philippines, but in the whole world. So congrats sa inyo.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's been an honor. Yes, it's been an honor to be here, and we will continue with our advocacy and with our dedication to hopefully continue with finding solutions that can benefit the Filipino individual and other individuals in the entire world. Sige.
So at syempre, Sir Michael, wag kang susuko sa pag-advocate dito sa mga magagaling nating mga Pilipino na sumasali sa NASA Space Apps. May pondo man na wala, tuloy ang laban para sa
ituloy ang laban
ng Pilipino para sa R&D, Science and Technology. Ganun talaga eh. Minsan mahirap pero there will come a time na bubuti rin ang lahat.
Until then, once again, focus on what we have control over.
Tama,
okay.
Tama.
So
yan guys, maraming salamat at let us end our show with this song from a very good child. Napakaganda ng kanyang kanta at sana po ang kantang ito ay magbulat sa ating lahat para ma-realize natin na pakinggan ang mga munting tinig na bigyan sila ng mas magandang kinabukasan. Muli, maraming salamat at hanggang sa susunod po na Wednesday. Ito po ang inyong Kuya David para sa Ako at ang Kalikasan TV kasama si Kuya Art at si Kuya Michael. Thank you po. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Paligid natin dati kay linis at kay sarap pagmasdan ang langit. Sa dagat ay kay linaw ng tubig, walang basura sa mga paligid.
kaming mga bata. Kung sa mundo'y walang nagpapala, ang hangin sa usok ay kay dumi. Babalik pa ba ang dati? Ako'y nakikiusap sa bawat isa. Sana ang bukas namin ay bigyan niyo ng pag-asa. Ako ang munting tinig, ang pakiusap ko sana ay marinig. Ito ang ating daigdig, ang tanging kailangan, tunay na pag-ibig. Wag nang hayaang magdilim ang langit. Ba't sisirain ang kalikasan? Sa'yo'y wala ba ang pagmamahal? Bundok at ilog ay pagyamanin. Ito ay bigay sa atin. Ako'y nakikiusap sa bawat isa. Sana ang bukas namin ay bigyan niyo ng pag-asa. Ako ang munting tinig, ang pakiusap ko sana ay marinig. Ito ang ating daigdig, ang tanging kailangan, tunay na pag-ibig. Ako ang munting tinig, ang pakiusap ko sana ay marinig. Ito ang ating daigdig, ang tanging kailangan, tunay na pag-ibig. Wag nang hayaang magdilim ang langit. Ako ang munting tinig. Munting tinig.
With 10,000 arrows declined, remind me that you are my armor. There's always a place I can hide when I am desperate for shelter. You're my covering. I'm safe. I'm safe. Whatever comes at me, I'm safe. I'm safe. You got me under your wings, under your wings.
My name is Sushmita.
I'm Sam.
Broadcasting live from Global TV Bollywood Studio, India.
Live from Global TV London Studio. You are watching Global TV Philippines.
I'm so excited to join you. Catch me soon on the Rapporteur News with
Isabel
Isabel Fernandez and Chino Hansel
Filiang.
Together, let's unite the universe with substance by bringing news you can trust. Until then.
See you.